Hello, I'm Valerie McLennan. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you may be. I hope you're well. This is my spiritual channel, Valerie Mac, Scottish, spiritual, and very funny, allegedly. Now, as I always say, if you've been following me a while, thank you very much. Aha, you thought I was going somewhere else there. Been following me a while, thank you very much. And I hope you continue to listen and learn and take action in your own life. That's the important part, I know. And if you're a new listener, thank you very much. May I ask you to revert back to my previous podcasts and listen to those, and you'll get a kind of flavour of my style, etc. Now, it's quite funny. I'll just start with this. Someone was saying to me the other day, "Where you are very unique." I know, I am. Listen, I take the compliments wherever they come. Wherever they appear, I will say thanking you very much. This person said, "Where else? You're very unique. Where else would you find like a spiritual guru with a sense of humour like that?" And I'm always waiting for the punchline, because people tend to, they don't generally pour compliments very easily. I know. So I'm usually waiting for the sting in the tail. No, it was finished. That was it. Full stop. a spiritual guru with a great sense of humour. Now, where would you find all this spirituality, all this wisdom, and intertwined with a belly laugh? Where? Go, you tell me, where? Here is where. The answer is Valerie Mac, Scottish, spiritual, and very funny. Now, this evening, this is Sunday, and Sunday evening, and I thought, well, I'll keep it Lano, I'll keep it a little bit light. The wisdom is always there. The wisdom is within yourself. I can only do my part. You have to take the action. I know, I keep saying this. So I'll keep it reasonably light. I was actually thinking of different things that happen because we're human beings and because we're on a spiritual journey and because of whatever. We all face the same type of situations in life, even the most annoying things. Do you know, I was just thinking the other day, why does this always happen when you're in a hurry? Now, I can honestly say I'm not aware of it happening normally, but then again, maybe I don't notice it if I'm not under pressure or in a hurry. Maybe it happens and I'm unaware, but it just seems to happen when I'm in a hurry. What? Tell me what? Well, I've got one of those funny door handles that kind of stick out the way, in my house, inside the house. One of those little door handles that stick out. Every time I'm in a hurry, that door handle grabs the sleeve of my jumper and drags me back 4 miles. I know. Do you know what? You just walk past and your sleeve gets caught in whatever it is. There's always something, whatever I'm wearing, my sleeve gets caught on that door handle and it drags me back. I know. And it's always when I'm in a hurry and I kind of come back casually because I'm spiritual, trying to be calm, and I pull my sleeve off that door handle. There was one time I was going out about a week ago. That handle caught my sleeve 3 times and I began to think maybe I'm not supposed to be going. Maybe I'm not supposed to be going to this thing that I'm going to. Well, I know, wouldn't you? The 3rd time I saw, for goodness sake. And I was walking forward and this kept dragging my sleeve. Dragged me back 3 times. I know. But I removed my sleeve and I went to the event anyway. But I was thinking, wonder if it was someone above saying, "Oi," and dragging my sleeve. Then again, it might just be because it's a really awkward door handle. I kept grabbing my sleeve. I know, how annoying. The other thing, because when I was thinking of that, I thought, what's the other thing that's really quite annoying that happens to many of us? Now, this doesn't sound, this is not earth-shattering or on a global stage of concerns or worries. It's amazing how irritating it can be. If you're wearing an ankle sock and it keeps sliding down your shoe. Do you know when you're walking? I know, that doesn't sound much, but how annoying does that get? And do you know the only time that happens to me? When? Valerie, when? Every time if I bought a new pair of trainers or something, but that tends to be when I'm wearing my ankle sock. I'm not 5. But if I'm wearing a training, my trainers or something, if I'm walking, I'm wearing a trainer or something along those lines, I wear one of those little ankle socks that are supposed to go with said trainer. Oh, and see if the trainer is new, I know, and you're trying to kind of break your trainer in so it doesn't rip your heels off, that kind of thing. Well, that will be the very day that my ankle sock will keep sliding and sliding down on my foot until it's on the bottom of my foot, and I'm talking to my sock as I go my walk. I think, well, what is that about? What's it all about, Alfie? I know. I think, what is it? Can you not do one job? You've only got one job. You're an ankle sock. You're on my ankle. Why will you not stay on my ankle? Why are you under my foot when you're no use, nor ornament, as they say in Scotland? No use. And what happens then? My heel ends up getting sore. I know. How do you think I feel? Because the sock was supposed to be helping my new trainer. Oh no, this little daft sock that's supposed to be an ankle sock is underneath the bottom of my foot. And the more I walk and the faster I walk, the further that blooming sock slides down, as much as I can honestly sometimes hear my sock going, hee na 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 na. I know. Now, I know it's not earth-shattering, but I came in with a sore heel the other day. Oh, did you? I did. Are you really sympathetic? Or that sounded a bit sarcastic. I know, but many of us will relate to that situation. So I always drags my sleeve back when I'm in a hurry. Sock disappears under my shoe. Normally, my sock stays as it should be, unless I buy a new pair of trainers when I need it more than ever to stay in place. That's the day my ankle sock will say, oh, this is a new shoe. This will rub her heel. If I don't stay where I'm supposed to be. So then I think the sock goes, well, I'll have a little bit of fun. Slips right down my shoe, into my shoe. Anyway, that's that. I know, just thought, share it. Does that happen to you? Does it? So annoyed. Now, what else annoying? What else is there? Well, we just stick to that. I didn't really have this plan when I came on. What else? Someone was saying to me the other day, we were having a conversation along the lines of what we all do, silliness and ridiculous things that we do in life. It's just silly, not earth-shattering. And someone would say to me, because, we're so polite, a nation, if somebody says, there you are, I say, thank you. Or how are you? Well, yourself? All of that kind of thing. So we always pay it back. So if somebody asks you how you are, generally most people revert it back, and how are you? Or whatever they do, how are you? So we're having this conversation and we're saying how at times you're so used to kind of doing the, how are you? It doesn't really work. And someone was saying to me, I know, because at one time they were out for a meal, her and her husband, and the waiter put her meal in front of her and said, enjoy your meal. And she said, you too, you too, to the waiter who had put her meal down in front of her. And I says, aren't we a funny bunch? She says, I was mortified. I know, as was her husband. He says, we're not coming back here again. But the waiter seemingly laughed. He went, there you are, enjoy your meal. She went, you too. I told you it's not earth-shattering, but it's just funny. If it happens, I'd like to be sitting and heard, if I was not me, as long as it wasn't me. If I was sitting at the next table, listen to her, you too. Anyway, my conversation moved on. And we were talking about awkward. Well, that was the kind of the topic, because we were saying, she said it very embarrassing, very awkward when you're saying you too to the waiter when he puts your meal down. So then we started, elaborating what happens in your life, what kind of embarrassing situations. And I said, well, I know one. If I'm ever I wouldn't say I'm not totally claustrophobic, but if I had a choice in life, I wouldn't be stuck in a lift. Can we just say, can I put it that way? I'm not hysterically claustrophobic, but if I was stuck in a lift, I don't, no thank you. I don't want to be stuck in a lift, or even in a confined space. That would be my nightmare. If I was confined somewhere and, even for a minute. So anyway, me, I don't leave the conversation there. So I started to elaborate. And I said, isn't it awkward if something like that happens and you're with strangers? Or if you're stuck in a lift. The human trait, well, maybe it's just me, I would try not to make any eye contact with anybody, because I would feel, what's this? So suddenly I would start to look at the floor. If I was locked in a lift with some people or person, that'd be worse if it was one person, wouldn't it? I know, I would stop making eye contact, and I'd be very, very vague, and I wouldn't really say anything to anybody. I know. So this is what we're saying, try not to make eye contact, or if you're in places and you start making silly small talk, and you think, why did I bother? Because sometimes small talk, if it's just kind of come on all of a sudden and you're stuck somewhere and you make small talk, it can sometimes be the most ridiculous conversation. And sometimes you think, or I think, silence at that point would have been better. You say it best when you say nothing at all. That kind of thing. I thought, I know, because some people just try and fill the gap. I'm actually okay with silence. Oh, sorry, I wish you'd stop talking. Thank you very much. I'm actually okay, but I know people who can't stand a gap in a sentence or a conversation. So if you're out anywhere and there's even a gap for a minute or two, they'll burst in. Doesn't matter if it makes sense or otherwise. They just don't like that gap in the conversation. And sometimes in those situations, that's when people say the most ridiculous thing. Something doesn't even make sense, generally, or they've just thought something off the top of their head. And then it gets worse, because if they're met with a kind of a look of alarm or dismay, they think, oh, for goodness sake, you say it best. I know. Sometimes saying nothing at all in those circumstances, especially if I was stuck in a lift. If I'm ever stuck in a lift, don't expect me to speak to you, not at all. And don't expect me to look at you either. I will be staring at the floor. I will, because I'll be slightly claustrophobic. So don't look at me as giving you emotional support if I'm stuck in a lift, because it'll be the survival of the fittest, and I will be trying to keep myself alive. I know, and no panic. Thanking you. I know, just glad. I knew you would be interested. Now, I was going to talk about, I'm just talking about things that were really irritating. I've done my sock, I mentioned my sock. You did, you mentioned your sock already. The door, that door hand, I know, I've done that already. Oh, Wi-Fi, don't start here. But see her and her blooming Wi-Fi and her AI. Listen, have you ever felt the pressure with Wi-Fi, if it's erratic or if it's going slow? The emotional roller coaster that I face on a daily basis if I'm having an online meeting, or if I'm giving a talk online, or if I'm doing anything online. The emotional turmoil. If you can see your Wi-Fi starting to play up, if I see that little circle thing starting to look at me and I'm thinking, and if your connection, if the kind of anything, that's an emotional turmoil. I call it an emotional roller coaster, because your heart is in your mouth, looking at that signal and praying that it just stays with you. Even if you're sending out important emails, and then you think you've sent it, and then you look and go, nah, it's in your drafts. It's not been sent yet because your Wi-Fi's acting up. That happened to me last week. I think there was a few little power cuts or something, and I was wondering why I hadn't had a response to some important emails that I had sent. I did. This happened to me. I nearly fainted again. I thought the sock situation was bad enough. I'm a sleeve and everything else. Anyway, I sent 3, I think it was 2 or 3, quite important kind of business emails. And I think that's strange, they normally answer. Towards the close of day, I glanced in my box, and they were still sitting in my outbox. They hadn't even gone anywhere. They were still sitting there. And there had been a problem again. My Wi-Fi had decided it wasn't going to do anything, and I wasn't going to send my emails until it decided the next day. And I'm talking about, that was a Friday. What use, Wi-Fi? Is it sending my important emails that should go on a Friday? What is the point of sending them on a Saturday morning when the people I'm sending it to only work Monday to Friday? Do tell. Oh yes, this is progress. Oh, Valerie, you've got to move with the times. AI, okay, hookai, Wi-Fi. Yeah, do we really? Do we? If I'm waiting on answers and they haven't even gone, and sending them at the weekend is nae use and nor ornament to me. That's a funny wee expression. It's no use nor ornament, honestly. Well, I know now how that feels, because my Wi-Fi, I know, it starts doing that stupid thing, and it won't do it. And then if you're doing that, as I said, if you're doing online talk, or if you're doing an online anything, meetings, because everyone wants to see your face now. Prior to the pandemic, I'm talking about work-related stuff, people were more than content of just speaking to me on a phone. I was quite content speaking to them. Well, now, since the pandemic, everyone's a Zoom, everyone wants to see your face, everyone wants to online, I'll send you a Teams, I'll send you a Zoom, I'll send you and you're thinking, well, that's wonderful. As long as my Wi-Fi and my emotional roller coaster stay intact. I know, I'm just saying, does that happen to you? And listen, you're always saying to me, people, go with the times, look at this, look at that. Autocorrect is another one. Whoever invented that must be having a laugh. I have to check that 1,000 times. Autocorrect, why is it doesn't, stay with me, folks. See if autocorrect was actually helping my life. I would say, yes, that's lovely, thanking you. But it throws in random words into my text. Like if I'm saying, how are you? And just as an example, how are you this fine day? It'll say something like, how is your umbrella? It's nothing in, correlation to what I'm trying to say. If it would improve my text, if it was helping me in some way, I would, as everyone says in Spiritual Path, I would show gratitude and not attitude. But if I'm asking, how are you? And you're asking them how their umbrella, did they get their new umbrella? I just made that up, but you get my drift, Or if I'm asking a simple question and you decide to say, is it sunny today on the beach? You've got to stay with the topic. And, I'm quite easily pleased. I look for the solution more than the problem. But what I find with autocorrect and the Wi-Fi, sometimes they're giving me the problem that I didn't need. Thanking you, 1528. And I am using, I can't believe that was 15 minutes out of my life. Can you? Yes, thank you. Hope I made you laugh. Sunday, all going well. I'll be on during the week if the Wi-Fi and everything else just stays on the page. Thanking you. Look after each other. Take care. Bye for now.